So as soon as Curtis is ready, and Curtis looks like he's ready, so we will call our meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
Motion support, last chance. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no? We have an agenda, thank you. Roll call, got everyone registered and accounted for, thank you. Next up is Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And the next order of business is to entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the July 25th, 2023 regular meeting. Your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Support.
We have a motion support. Are there any additions or deletions, corrections, amplifications? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. The motion is carried and we've approved minutes. Moving right down to G, resolutions. First up, we are to consider a resolution exempting the City of Alma from the requirements of PA 152 of 2011 for the benefit plan year January 1 through December 31, 2024. Again, your pleasure.
Move to adopt.
Support.
Hey, this is an annual event, so Eric, you want to give us a little background on it for the camera?
I can't believe personally I'm already here again, that we have to start to look at health benefits for the new year. Each year for the lease, I've been here almost 25, so we've been doing this at least along this lines. This particular statute came in, as it says here, 2011. But when we opt ourselves out, what we try to do is find the best policy that's not just for the city's budget, but for also what helps our employees the best. What we're able to do with that is, like you see there, the 80-20. What we've been able to do is use an HRA plan, and then we provided a second plan that we charge a 10% employee contribution to it. So something that's a little less if an employee doesn't want as much coverage. So we've been able to do that over the years by exempting out of PA 152.
Okay. Anybody have questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 2, we are to consider a resolution to temporarily close the 100 through 300 blocks of Superior Street and 300 block of North State Street for the Alma Alive Celebration event, which is to be held on Saturday, August 19th, 2023. Your pleasure.
Move to adopt.
Support.
Motion support. You got some color for us?
Yes,
or-
everything begins at 3 p.m. Michigan Cornhole Tournament begins at 3. Then we'll have live acts beginning just about 4 o'clock, right up till 8 o'clock. Dueling pianos start at 8, go till 10. And we have 2 bouncers for the kids. We have an obstacle course. We have some axe throwing for the adults. And we do have, we'll have a beverage license through the Chamber of Commerce to offer drinks within the activity area. So it should be a fun evening, and hopefully everybody can come out and enjoy the festivities.
Quick clarification, Eric, are we closing both 100 to 300 blocks, both east and west?
Yes, it'll be from the east side of Gratiot Avenue to the west side of State Street. I'm sorry, to the west side of Prospect
Okay,
Street.
so then it is both of them. Okay, just
Yes.
clarification. It's-
Because the length of some of the bouncers and
Yep.
such, it will
Okay.
take up those
Okay, good.
space.
Thank you.
The obstacle course is quite long.
So as long as we can fill the space, it's
Yeah.
fine to block it
that's
off.
fine. That's great.
When you block it off and there's
6
nothing
blocks
there,
is-
then
yeah.
the merchants don't always care for that, so.
But we'll
Good point,
have,
Roger.
they will have things in front of the whole stretch there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Come out and have fun then. All those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion's carried and we'll block off those streets. Item number 3 is to consider a resolution to agree to share costs for development of the Gratiot County Master Land Use Plan in the amount of $1,291.08 and also to authorize the Elma Planning Commission to join the planning process for the Gratiot County Master Land Use Plan and appoint a representative to the Gratiot Countywide Master Plan Steering Committee. It's a mouthful, excuse me. Your pleasure here.
Move to adopt. Support.
Okay, got a motion and support. Comments or questions?
Yep, let's do some, the total costs on it are across the county. We've done this the last 2 master planning processes. We've been fortunate enough, we talked a little bit about MEDC providing some funding to help us with our planning process this time around. How is this all kind of shaken out? We worked with a group of folks from around the county to choose our consultant, so that has been done. Then Greater Gratiot has been leading the portion of getting the funding and the contracts, going back and forth with the state to receive the grant funding to cover a good majority of the planning process. As you can see from the note, our portion would be, without the grant from MEDC, $5,164. This is based on the number of parcels you have. That's how they kind of broke out the costs for the countywide master planning portion of it. What we were looking at originally doing is that we would do the countywide planning and then the City of Elma's more detailed planning at the same time, and along with the economic development plan, which would incorporate the Elma Spires, and then a marketing plan to be backing that. What MEDC would like us to do is get this portion of it underway. And then as we get a couple months, 3 months down the road, then that they would open up the funding for us to jump into the specific ALMA, economic development and marketing portions of the plan. So open up the funding for that. And again, this is what you're seeing there for percentages of coverages. We're overall will probably be around the $8,000 or $9,000 mark for all our planning, which is quite a deal, because we were looking at possibly spending around the $20,000 mark for the master planning if we did everything on our own. But this keeps us in the loop with the county as a whole, and then it gets us what we need done locally, expands Alma Expires, and then gets us a marketing plan at the end of it.
And it's important because if we don't have these things in place, then we're not eligible for grants and other programs that we need to participate in, so.
Yes, and this will get us our certification for redevelopment-ready communities, and it will get us to the point where we're at the highest tier of the RCC, which will open up for different, like say, projects like the middle school.
So that completes everything for RCC?
This will get us to that point. RRC, yes. It will be on the top level of a certified community. So that will open up other grant opportunities for bigger projects, residential or commercial or industrial. So.
Good news.
Yeah.
Questions?
Just the start of it.
Okay, no questions? All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, no? The motion is carried, and we're entering into a master plan. You mentioned in here to appoint a representative to the steering committee.
Yep.
Do you have a schedule of when they're planning to meet, or anything tentative, or we're going to appoint people and then they figure out their own schedule?
We have not gotten a schedule yet,
Okay.
and what I was thinking we could do is appoint we could have the chairperson from the planning commission, and then if Heather couldn't make it, she could have.
So maybe we'll look to the planning commission for a recommendation and appointment?
Yeah, I think that would be easier, as people's schedules and stuff, of how much time this could take once we start getting rolling. So.
Fair enough. Does anybody have any different thoughts on that? Anybody have a burning desire to join them? I think everything they do is probably open to the public, so
Yes.
if you do have that desire, even if you don't have a seat at the table, you could go and I'm sure your input would be welcome. It's been a very good process in the past, I know, so. Okay, moving on to number 4, we're to consider a resolution to designate Isabella Community Credit Union as an additional approved depository for City of Elma funds in accordance with Section 6.7 of the Elma City Charter. And your pleasure there.
Move approval.
Support.
Got a motion support. Any comments or questions?
Again, this is just adding another financial institution to, as we start to head down of diversifying some of our funds.
Okay. Comments or questions? Anything? All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, no? Motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move into agreements. First up is to consider a resolution to approve the renewal of a 1-year contract for transportation services between Elma Transit and Gratiot Integrated Health Network, and also to authorize Transit Director Brett Bublitz to execute the contract. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support. Motion support?
Yep.
We've talked about it a little bit, but you have more to add, or?
Definitely. We'll list for the camera. The contract will start on October 1. The difference between this contract and previous contracts, this will be based on our charges that we charge a rider normally. And also to keep track and administer the program, this will take a lot more work from staff to keep up on. There's a 10.5% administrative fee added to the service. So we'll see how it kind of pans out at the end. In the past, we've received a flat fee of $100,000 from the GIN contract, and we'll see if this is close or if it's a little bit less or a little bit more. We'll see how that kind of pans out.
Because I would anticipate it to be a little bit less because of the expanded basic service area. Now we've got the township and other cities involved, so. Okay, anybody have comments or questions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. You have a contract, I think. Item 2, consider a resolution to approve change order number 4 to the contract with McGurk Sand and Gravel Incorporated for the downtown parking lots improvement project. This is in the amount of $71,177.15 to cover the cost for stamped concrete in the new pocket park. Your pleasure thereof.
Move approval.
Support. Motion support.
Yep, and as we discussed before, this project is technically outside of what we're doing with the ARPA monies with the parking lots. This is covered by a budgeted amount for the pocket park, plus being covered by the Gratiot County Parks Recreation grant that we received. For the change order you see in front of you for $71,177, that was real close to what we had estimated and submitted to the Gratiot County Parks Board for the stamped concrete. Actually, we had estimated the concrete and the bollards to be about $70,000, so that actually is right in line. If approved, this work would be done here in September as part of this overall project.
Comments or questions?
I did notice they waived some of the transportation costs and fees that we saw on the previous change order versus this one. They just deleted those. You can see it as a line item at the bottom of the invoice, which is good to see.
Good. Thank you for that input.
Okay, anybody else? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Item 3, consideration of resolution authorizing the execution of engagement letters between the City of Elma. Oh, no, wrong one, sorry. We're on the 4, aren't we? Oh, no.
No. 3.
3, we are, okay. Between the City of Elma and Elma Transit and Yo this time. I'm sorry, okay, CPA. When I saw transit, I just threw me, so. So consideration of engagement letters between the City of Elma and Elma Transit Center and Yo CPAs and business consultants for the purpose of conducting annual year-end audits for a total fee of $29,850, and to authorize the city manager to sign both letters on behalf of the city and Elma Transit Center.
Move approval.
Support. Motion support.
As we talked about at the last meeting, we were talking about possibly going out for some RFPs for auditing services, since we haven't done that since 2017. But as we discussed, we'd like to have at least one full cleared year of a clean audit, so we get the best prices possible when we do go out for an RFP. This is a good price to conduct both those audits, and I believe they were probably able to give us this dollar amount because it was a lot simpler for them to do our last audit, since Finance Department had all the information and things there ready for them that they needed to do their audit in a timely manner. So anyway, that's we're recommending to at least go one more year with Yo and we are going to have a clean audit this time completely. We only had 2 corrections last time, so a big difference in 2 years.
Okay. Comments or questions? It would be interesting to see, because not only is your audit bid better now because of the work that's been done, there's also in the past been additional costs that tacked on because work was not ready for them timely when they show up and they call and ask questions, they didn't get timely responses, so we're billed for people showing up that didn't have anything to do because we didn't have the work for them. So if you had some free time just to say what kind of savings are we seeing, Curtis, it might be nice to look at that number and, kind of toot your own horn for that, for you and your team, because I'm sure there's some real dollars there being saved, so thank you. With that comment, all those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. Looks like we've ready for a contract with the Yo and Yo then. Consideration of a resolution to accept and authorize contract number 23-5320 with the Michigan Department of Transportation regarding asphalt resurfacing of Michigan Avenue from Superior Street to Bridge Street, and to authorize the mayor to execute the contract on behalf of the city of Alma. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Motion support.
Yep, this is part of some grant funding that the Road Commission received through some of the ARPA monies that was eligible to either the county, Road Commission, City of Alma, or City of St. Louis. Three of us met, and St. Louis was like, well, we have Michigan Avenue connects both the communities, that, hey, why don't you go ahead and use that monies to fix up that piece between, basically it's in front of Avalon and Tahoe there. As you can see, though, it's not, it's a nice chunk of change, but it's still the balance left of the project that's been estimated by MDOT. And the whole project is at $355,650, and the balance that will be covered by, but we budgeted these items, is $274,446. Approving the contract will then allow MDOT to get the bid documents out here this fall for construction this spring, and then later on in your agenda is the resolution that goes along with this contract.
Okay. Anybody have more questions or comments? So this is just resurfacing, it's like a mill and
Mill and resurface,
repave.
and there's gonna be some curb work done at the same time, and then we're working with Avalon to do some extra things with some safety pedestrian stuff too. So.
But the underground is in pretty decent shape there.
Yes,
Because
yes,
it's all torn up.
Yes, late 95, 96, that was all redone.
That's new by
That's
our standards.
Our standards is new, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Less than 100.
Less than 50, it's like,
It's gold.
it's like shiny, it's still shiny. Any more questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried, and we have a contract with the state for that. Moving on to J, reports of officers, boards, and committees. Tonight, we have, the commissioners may receive the following reports by one resolution, and any commissioner may remove any item within the section for individual discussion and vote. Tonight, we have before us a Parks Committee, July 24th, 2023 draft meeting minutes. The Alma District Fire Board, July 26, 2023 draft meeting minutes. The Downtown Development Authority, July 26, 2023 draft meeting minutes. The Alma Transit, July 2023 report. The Building Permit Report for April through July 2023, and the City Manager's Newsletter. Your pleasure.
Move to receive 1 through 5.
Support.
Motion support. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, those all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Now we'll look for a motion to receive the City Manager's Newsletter.
Move to receive the city manager's newsletter.
Support.
Have a motion support. Go.
All right, here we go. All right, first on the items here, downtown trees. I was asked if we could bring back that discussion point, and for a couple of things. One, when we went down and we're working on lot number 3, obviously there was, not obvious, I shouldn't say it that way. There was probably 12 trees in the 2 islands that are located there. As part of the project, we have put in 4 basically stubs for future charging stations for electric vehicles in the island to the south. So we knew those trees were most likely have to go across there. The one to the north, those trees, according to the engineer, had to go for the new curb that went in. We will put new trees in, but when those trees left, folks saw how desolate things looked without all those trees being there. So the question and concern came, well, if we were to remove all the downtown trees at once, how does that gonna look, feel? Is it gonna give that empty feeling? When we did meet at our goal setting session, we did discuss looking at taking the 62 trees that's in the project area that Dr. Dalton and our students from MSU researched for us, and to do that over a 3 to 4 year period, taking 20 or so trees, 16 to 20 trees a year, until they were removed and replaced. That was all based on our budget. That's why we were looking at doing that staging. We had since received some possibilities, some funding that would give us enough funding to do the whole thing at once and do replacements at once. So we had a discussion of, well, if we could do that, we could use those funds to do that at once. Now, from staff point of view, we haven't received that funding yet. That's still being worked out with the two lawyers working on the agreement there. But once we get the funding, it's, however the commission feels comfortable doing it is fine with staff, how we'd like to do it. Doing it in a stage format, because we'll have the funds there to do it, or we can still proceed and do them all at once and do the replacement at once. Now, there's also, since we've had the conversation about those bigger trees that were in the back of the parking lot, when we removed the ones where we're putting in the new conduit for the charging stations, the electrical was only buried about, 6 inches below the base. So, trees can and do damage. So when we were pulling those roots out, they were all grown into the conduit and electrical that was, the two lights that are in that island. Luckily enough, they saw that, stopped it, and limited the damage that was done, because we had to go down deeper anyway if we're going to put trees in. But they do damage over time. It's just, that's what trees do. So those will be going back in there. And then looking at the breeds that were there, and then Jim Goodholz, our new superintendent, he was there to kind of cut out the electrical so it wasn't destroying the light poles and those sorts of things. He had reviewed the recommended trees, and he was at our DDA meeting and discussed a little bit, and we didn't have a quorum, so we discussed further. He goes, does everyone realize that some of the trees that they've presented are probably dirtier than the ones that you had from a standpoint of what they drop, than what the locust did. Yes, the honey locust. So we might want to consider discussing that a little further on which trees you want to, what types of trees you want to replace, or just be knowing up front that it's going to have a flowering tree and it's going to drop these sorts of things, and you're going to be okay with that. The city of Greenville is going through a removal. Their trees aren't as big as, but they're close to our size of trees. They're going through a removal, and they've chosen 2 species that weren't on our list, that I asked Jim if he would take a look at and give us, some idea of pros and cons on that too. But I guess from a standpoint of, that stuff needs to be figured out, but the type of trees to replace. But what is the commission's, how do you feel comfortable of moving forward when we get to the point of starting to the removal? Or what's your comfort level of how we go about doing that?
I have a couple of questions still, because I wasn't here when those decisions were made. I was told, and could be incorrect, that MSU, that we had paid to come out and help give their opinion, had recommended not cutting down the trees that aren't dead, that just take them as they go, as they die, and then replace them as they go. How many of our trees are actually dead that have to be replaced, and how many are still perfectly good that we are deciding to take down even though they're perfectly good?
Well, there's 4 different levels of severity. There was 2 that were considered excellent. I have to go back to the study, but what they were trying to do there when I was talking to Dr. Dalton is about budgeting and having enough money to do the things that we need to do, because the trees do need to be replaced. One of the comments that she made there, which was interesting, because it's been the city did get its value out of the trees that they planted. She said these things should have lasted and topped out at 35 years at the most. They shouldn't have lasted this long. Right now, we have what they considered poor trees with 6. Fair, which is the phase 2, 26 of them. Fair to good, there's 5 of those. And then what they call the phase 4, the good to excellent, there's 25 trees there. When we were looking at that, we would obviously, if you're going to take on phases, you take out the worst ones first, the less healthy ones first, and then move down that list. But also there's the considerations if you wanted to have this, a canopy that looked similar to each other, you remove them at once and they grow at this similar, so you have a similar look all the way through it. One of the things that we talked about with the different trees there, they grow to different heights, so not having all the same trees, and then you have different looks as you go through the downtown. You have taller trees if they say the intersections, and the mid-block they'd be a little shorter. Some communities have planted trees in that manner just to have some consistency that way. I'm not against trees. I love trees. That's one of my biggest assets to my house, I think, is the number of city trees along my block. It's beautiful. But when it comes to, at some point, you do have to remove them and replace them. And that's why we're having that discussion. I knew it was going to be like this. I mean, either people love trees or they're frustrated with them.
They did recommend in this, I believe, that all of the trees be removed in under a decade. I think that was
yes, it's under within 10 years. Yeah.
Recommendation.
Like Dr. Dobson said, she was very surprised that they lasted, have been, and are this healthy at this time in their lives. And I tell you the story about what we found just in the conduit, that how those roots and stuff were wrapped around that conduit there, and that's what's probably happened down through downtown. There's no denying that. But it's good, it's good to know that obviously we wouldn't be ripping out the stumps because it's probably attached to other facilities underneath the ground that you'd have to remove them by grinding the stumps or such. But I knew this was going to be a difficult subject because it will change the face of the downtown. And that's why I asked if this board, if we could bring someone in to kind of, have some discussions about it, put something together. It's in paper that we can talk from, so.
Yeah, there's really, in addition to the diseased trees or the dead trees, Lori, the other reason is the economics of it. The damage that these large trees do to the sidewalk and the conduit, the building facades, the roofs that they're impacting. As one that owns some buildings downtown, you see some real damage from that, and it costs real money to repair the sidewalks, the facades, and the roofs. So there's economic reasoning as well as, and historically, if you go back through history, the downtown was not designed and did not have trees. It was a commercial thoroughfare that nobody put a tree in. I don't think there was a tree in town until the 60s when the streetscape was changed. So it's a fairly new phenomenon, but they are expensive from an economic point of view, especially as they get larger. If you walk down and see the bricks in the sidewalk heaved, and the damage
Some of those
can be
bricks have
done.
become totally loose.
Yeah, and
as well.
some are just
You
gone,
pick them
and yeah,
up.
you can pick them up.
Kids are going through there and picking them up.
And there's sidewalk even, I know there's some spots that, in front of some of the locations I know that the sidewalk, it was heaved, it's been replaced, but even in replacing it, they had to round it up. It's not flat like it was when it was new. You're not getting the product you had that it was originally installed, so.
Aren't you going to still have that problem if you plant other trees?
Eventually, yes. Yep. Yeah, and that's what happens with them. They grow to a certain point and either remove them, or eventually they'll either fall down or you have to, or they're causing some kind of a damage, and if you own them, you remove them. It's just what they do. It's nothing against them. It's just that's what trees do. They grow and they find water sources and they keep growing. And in the case of these trees, we've been very fortunate. It was a great investment because here we are 40 some years later, and a good majority, if you look at the number, a majority of them are very healthy still. So, but it's kind of, how do you we need to do something with them, but so it's just like, how do you want to go about it is kind of where I'm at about the removal and replacement. And being here those 25 years, I don't think I've ever went through a whole year that someone didn't have a comment about the trees in one way or another. But it is, and I love them, but it's just that we do have to do something.
What is the gradual plan? You said there were the two options.
Well, what I talked to the commission about back at the goal setting session, it was just based on the health of those trees, on which trees you pick to start with, and then how can we fit that in the budget? And we were looking at, we could probably afford to do 16 to 20 trees a year. And that would take you either 3 to 4 years to complete the process within this, the project area. Now, this project area only includes from Pine Avenue to Prospect Street, and then the trees from South State Street, from Center Street to Superior Street. The ones that are west of Prospect, like heading down to Mancino's in that area, those aren't part of this project area. Those trees were put in the, I believe, the 90s, early 90s.
What I'm seeing on this, the part 1, part 2, and part 3 of 3 parts, is part 1 is trees on the north side of Superior Street, of taking down everything that was a 3 and a 4, as I remember it, leaving the 1s and 2s up, which the 1s and 2s would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the trees would be left up. As I remember it. And then this part 2 is the south side of Superior Street, which there would be more trees coming down. There are more 4s and stuff in there. And then the part 3 is trees on State Street, which would be about half of them coming down, according to this, leaving the 1s and the 2s, which are healthy or mostly healthy trees, leaving them up until some future. That's the way I remember doing it. That may not be what we did. I don't remember, but...
Well, we haven't done anything yet.
Right.
And those were just, what I presented was just a way to go forward to do it in at least a reasonable time period, not to like drag it out, and then do it within budget where we're not having to take away from other departments or other projects or programs to get it done.
I can agree to that.
That's why we kicked it out that way. But then when we had this opportunity to receive these extra funds, that's when we discussed, well, would it be better just to
Take them all down.
do it all at one time? But
Which we did vote yes on.
well, I'm all, whatever the commission is comfortable doing, because we'll have the funding to do it.
Will the funding be impacted in any way by delaying to 3 years, or?
And we can work with them on that.
The kind of comments that I have heard is, how can you call yourself a tree city when you're going to go and rip down every tree in the downtown area? And I don't have a good argument for that.
Well, you replace them.
Yeah,
You replace them.
but still you're replacing them with 10-year-old trees or 5-year-old trees, or however old a tree that's this big is, It takes a long time to come back to.
Yep, and that's very true. But I've seen where if you let them go too far, and if you don't keep up with them, on my street where I love my big trees, down the street I've seen 2 of them fall during storms. One onto one of my neighbor's houses, and one onto the power cords and damage the vehicle underneath of it. So they get to that point where.
And Tree City goes beyond the downtown district. It's
Oh, yeah, I know,
citywide,
yeah.
and-
But it looks, what they're saying is that certainly looks pretty bad for us if we go and tear all of the trees downtown
What's the time frame if we were to do it all at once? Obviously 3 to 4 years if we were to do it in phases. What's the time frame?
You could get it done in a season.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to be, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate to the tree, if we do it in phases, we'll actually have less trees downtown than we would if we did them all at once. Because there's no way that if there's a storm or something like that, that if one tree falls, very rarely, I think we'll be right in there to plant one tree that same day versus, I think this kind of model that Eric's mentioning is everything's down, everything's back up. And so in theory, you'd have more trees in the down. Now, they're not as large. But then in terms of number of trees, if you're playing that, that kind of that side of the coin, then I think you'd have more downtown that way.
What is the plan if it's done gradually? Is he correct that you wouldn't start planting the new trees till they're all gone? Or would
No, I
you
mean,
plant the new ones as you go
You would
along?
plan as you go along. You'd pick the locations you want to go back.
But you're not remedying the ones that would fall down over natural causes, because you just have to wait till the next phase as in terms of when you're putting
Oh, I
those
see what you're
in.
saying.
And so, yes, the ones that would come out would get replaced,
I see.
but the ones that naturally, and again, we're already past our life expectancy here, so it makes me nervous, especially I agree with Greg, and to add to his concerns with maybe some roofs and the electrical, you also have foundation issues that can start to creep in because of that.
No, I'm not, this is not something that's making me happy to deal with at all.
No, I understand.
And it's just one of those hard things that we have to,
I never thought that.
to try to figure a way
I just
out.
wanted clarification on what was going on, because I've been getting a lot of calls.
Stuff, yeah, just,
Nope, like I said, I don't like to see a tree go down, because they do a lot of good things for the environment and from erosion to air to noise to all kinds of things they do for lots of good things for urban areas.
well, if we can adequately explain to our constituents about what we're doing and how we're doing it, I think that will mitigate it quite a bit. When I've been selling Lucky McDuck tickets at the farm market on Saturdays, half of the people that are coming to buy Lucky McDuck tickets are also asking me, so how come you're gonna tear down all the trees downtown, you know, and that's, and I have told people, well, we'll reopen that and discuss it and find, you know, whatever the commission as a whole thinks is best to do. I can see it either way.
Well, like I said, we need to choose the species very carefully. Because like I
We
said,
haven't done that yet,
just listening to, Jim, who him and his crew have to maintain things and keep things cleaned up. He was like,
Beauty is costly.
yeah, do you really want to do this? Because I know the pods were an issue for all those years, those little leaves were an issue.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, do you realize this tree drops acorns? This one does, this one drops rubbery leaves, and these rubbery leaves are really hard.
That's how they grow.
It's like nature.
Yes,
Oh.
exactly. So,
The study that was done focused a lot on the health of the trees themselves. I didn't see a lot in there about the condition of the sidewalk nearby or anything like that. I just wonder if that would be taken into consideration if we do a tiered approach.
we could make that part of the determination, or the choosing which tree to do.
Scoring.
Yeah, scoring, yeah. She just, obviously working through that, because that's what they do, is look at
Yep.
the varieties and health and what's
Yeah,
best
that's
for those
great.
environments. And I asked her just, letting her know that obviously this isn't just, I'm in the budget to do something. So that's why she kind of wrote this as what some options are of working that in, as opposed to trying to find a way to, like I said, take from other departments or other projects and make it work, so.
I'm happy either way, we're gonna have trees downtown.
Well, I think it would be wise for us to, since nothing is going to happen here, we haven't even picked out a tree yet, and, you know, we have time to do this, is to just, let's take a look at this kind of again a little bit. I mean, we've had open hearings on it, so we don't need to go through that, but let's see if we can't figure out a plan that will work and kind of make everybody happy, including the city and the city workers and the people who own the buildings, and let's take a look at it again, that's all.
All right, second on the item here, just wanted to talk a little bit about the Human Resources, HR department. Sherry Reiner has provided a report as part of your packet. Sherry's been with us since July of 21. Since 2018, the HR position did not exist as a separate position within the city. HR, since at least when I was here, I don't know if they had one previous to 1998, but since 1998 at least, up to 2018, the role of HR was done as in piece with the city clerk's position. And as part of the HR currently, it's a 1.5 FTE position, meaning that there's a full-time and a half in that department. The other half is the payroll portion of it, and that is done by Deb King. And previously, the payroll role was underneath the finance department role. So in 2000, the HR position became its own function, which also was underneath the finance role, the finance department when it was created in 2018. The previous city manager felt it was important to roll the payroll into underneath that, since the HR and the payroll have a lot to do with each other going back and forth. If you read through Sherry's report on what has been accomplished over those time periods there, there has been a lot of hiring and people moving here and there to onto different positions or to different opportunities. We've had 66 new hires over that time period, and a lot of those happen when we have seasonal workers. Seasonal workers work from April to October, and so those come and go. Underneath the termination portion of it, I don't like the word terminations, but that's the word they use in HR world. If a seasonal is leaving for the end of the year, actually you sign a termination slip. Someone's retiring, actually you sign a termination slip. We've had 4 retirements since this time period, 5 promotions within the organization, and then unfortunately we've had 2 deaths actually just recently that they were dealing with. Since July, for the general employees, working toward getting folks on a yearly training of workplace ethics, sexual harassment prevention, workplace bullying, bloodborne pathogens on a yearly basis. During all of the things that we've been working through from a financial standpoint, part of the other side of things that have been tough dealing with on the financial side has been issues on billings from healthcare and payroll and payroll deductions, all these other things that have had issues in the past that have been getting cleaned up, which is important because there's a lot of liability from the IRS side of things of if things are not reported correctly, they will reach out and fine us for. So a lot of cleanup happening there. The change in programming in 2021, where we state that there's $29,740 worth of savings there. Where those savings came from, we went back through and reevaluated our third-party administrator with our healthcare provider that helps us out with our healthcare. That did save us just over $7,000. And since then, on the backside of it, from our finance department, they've been much happier and much easier to get information into their spreadsheets and to the auditors that we didn't have before. That has caused us some issues. Also, part of that was we changed, like we just mentioned earlier on in the agenda, we had a free plan, health plan. We did add a 10% employee cost share with that. We had some free dental. We added a cost share with that also, and that's helped bring some money back to the fund to help fund COLAs and keep merit increases going. So increases in requirements in HIPAA and personal confidentiality previous to 2018. Those records and such weren't necessarily in a place where they were very secure since 2018, and now we have them locked behind a door and locked cabinets, and then the paperwork of breaking out the files the way they need to be broken out for the state of Michigan. And as you can see, there's a whole list of other things that that's being worked on over the next few years, from the next few months, I should say, not years, but the next few months from my standpoint. I need to help HR get some more of our personnel policies up to date. Believe it or not, we had a complete update in 2019. So when I took over this job, that was one thing I didn't think I was going to have to worry about. But there's quite a few things to go through and get those up to date that needs to be changed and updated and put together. I guess if there's any questions from the commission, I could answer or do my best to answer.
Questions? I guess nobody else has anything. You mentioned the 7,000 savings in the third-party administrator, and then this 29,000. So the 7 is part of the 29.
Yes, it is. Yep.
And then any idea? What's the other 20? I guess.
Oh, it's we've taken the free plan for healthcare and put it at 10% employee share. And
So basically, the employee share has been contributed $20,000 worth.
yeah, okay. And then the share on the dental, because that was just a free plan before, then putting in a percent share that the employee pays in, and those have helped, bridge some of that gap. It's not, necessarily popular with, employees when you start increasing those cost shares, but that is, helping keep the healthcare coverages that we do have, that we compare ourselves to other organizations that we're equal to or better than, from the standpoint of what we've been able to offer from a healthcare standpoint. But we're always looking to, find better ways to do that, and that's why tonight we exempted ourselves out of P152, just to give us those options to look for things that can save, and then also provide the best coverage we can to the employee.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? The other thing, and really the reason I was looking for this in the first place, because I asked for some information here. For a couple years ago, I guess we started down a program of performance reviews for the employees and staff. And it kind of came to mind because we haven't done one for you in a year. And so it's time to do that. Where are we with employees having regular meetings with their supervisors and direct supervisors, and getting feedback from those supervisors, doing regular performance reviews and goal setting and goal achievement and tracking some of those things? Because my understanding was in the past we hadn't done any of that, and I think it's just good practice that if everybody should have at least a meeting or two a year with their direct supervisor, hey, how's it going, checking in, and here's the boxes, this is what we're trying to accomplish, this is your piece of it. I think it really helps to build and connect the team. Have we made any progress on that? I think even when, before you got here, that had started. Are we dropped the program, or are we thinking about it yet? Or?
No, we're still working through I'm not sure. I'll talk with Sherry about which supervisors are getting their evaluations done, that sort of thing. But like I said, it's one of those.
But there isn't a regular system in place now.
No,
where supervisors are required to meet at least semi-annually with their employees and give them some sort of feedback. And
I have not instituted that. No, I have not instituted that. Correct. No, I have not.
I guess I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but I think that would be
I thought we
great.
could have performance reviews done every year.
That was the intention, I think, a couple of years ago when we started that conversation, at least, that it was going to happen. So, and we're as negligent as anybody because we haven't talked to. We communicate, but we haven't done a formal review of any sort. So we do need to do that as well.
So to have that if you have a problem in future, if there's not ever been any evaluations of that employee, you have nothing to.
Yeah, there's a ton of reasons to do it.
There's very good reasons and positive reasons to do it.
Right,
Because
and positive
yes,
too,
it's usually positive, actually. It's very rare. You hope that you never get to that point where it becomes more of a disciplinary side of things.
Yeah, hopefully it heads it off before problems become disciplinary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If they don't know that you're not happy with them.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, if I don't know I'm not meeting your expectations, how am I going to change my behavior? So I just think it'd be a good employment practice.
No, it needs to be there, and that is, like I said, from my side of things, from where I sit, that is one of the goals over my next year here, to make sure that stuff gets implemented. Well, those meetings get implemented, and that I meet with my department heads to make sure that that's going on too, so, yeah.
And so along with that, if you want to schedule something for us to meet with you, then you can kind of prepare for that, and we'll get that on the calendar too. That's really what started the whole conversation. My line of thinking was, hey, we haven't done this for Eric, so thank you for that.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yep.
Oh, one other thing too, with that savings, we've had changing programs, had some savings. When we initially made that TPA, the third-party administrator change, there was quite a few employees that were not pleased with the changes that were being implemented because of how it impacted how they
Submitted,
in their processes they had to do. Are people relatively happy with the process now?
This year is better, but I've asked Sherry.
Are we still getting complaints that?
Here and there, and I've asked Sherry to put together a survey and let it go out to the employees so I can get something that's, confidential that they can send back in, that goes out to all the departments and see where we're at. Like I said, I can't believe we're here at this point again. We're looking at healthcare stuff, and this is the time to start looking at that and see where we're at with everybody. Nothing has been, I've been here, we've been through three different
cycles?
Three different, three TPAs since I've been here. So no one's ever been happy necessarily all the way with anybody that we've had. We've been through three. So, but we're gonna send out that survey and see where people are at and go forward with comments. And if it's not working, then we can evaluate.
And maybe education is needed, some training sessions or some, more access to something. I don't know what it is, but just we need to have a pulse of how it's impacting our people. We ask them to contribute another $20,000. What are they getting for it? So hopefully they're happy with the care and the programs.
On the backside, from the finance and from what the information that we're getting from this as opposed to the previous one has been much better. So the finance can do their work, payroll can do their work, and so it's done correctly. That's been night and day. But the other thing is a different.
That's important, but if the rest of the staff, you made those 5 people happy, but if the other 100 are not,
that's why I need to.
You've wrecked their life.
That's why I need to send out a survey so they can get that. And, so it's so people don't feel on pressure that I'm pressuring them, asking them up front. They can be as truthful as they need to be, and if it needs to change, we can make changes. So that's what it's for.
Very good.
Urban Deer, I was asked to pull together some information. I do have a scheduled Teams meeting with a representative from Michigan DNR to talk about lethal management of deer. The 2 fact sheets that I provided in your packet kind of break down what communities should consider as they're looking at, do they have a deer problem, what is the deer problem, and then how they should go about containing the number of deer. I'm sure if you ask anybody, that people will tell you there's too many deer out there. But unless you went through the whole recommendation of what they're saying of doing the studies and bringing in wildlife experts and to go through and count everything and see where you're at, that's a lot of paperwork and a lot of time, and I don't know how much that would cost to do that. The deer have increased in town. I can just tell you from just being here, they have increased. And they generally are in about 5 locations in town, but they migrate from those areas and through everyone's neighborhood.
There's tasty things all over town.
Yes. And when you go down with the mitigation items that you can do without lethal, they talk about plants that deer don't like to munch on, fencing, those sort of things. The fencing is a tough one for me because obviously I deal on the code enforcement side of things, and it's tough enough to get people to do fencing correctly just for property fencing, let alone trying to fence out things to keep them out of their property, and that would just be, to my opinion, a nightmare to deal with. Anyway, the lethal management, if you had a chance to go through some of that, and it's just very basic stuff, that's what I asked for from them. It would have to be something that we would do on a fairly regular basis. You can't just do it once and then 10 years later do it again. It's something that you'd have to do, every other year or so.
Mount Pleasant started a program, but I think they abandoned it didn't they, because it really wasn't achieving anything. So.
Yep. They sure did. So just wanted to get that in front of you. And I think they made a really good point in here. There's some folks who are, don't kill, deer at all. So if you're gonna go down that path of, that type of mitigation, that, like we're talking about the trees, everyone has a very good understanding of why we're doing it, when we're doing it, and
Is there not a relocation option? I did not see anything.
well, who are you gonna relocate them to?
Yeah, well,
It's kind of Yeah, exactly. It's like catching, raccoon
Skunks
or
and-
woodchucks and then taking them to your neighbor and selecting them there or something. It's not probably the
No,
nicest.
I mean, that
Post the
does
sign
not
at the
seem
city
to be
limits,
that.
just telling them that I welcome them.
The DNR does not mention it.
And I do know of a couple of doctors that are actually doing, has to do, I forgot what they called it, but it had to do with the ticks, because that's what prompted me to bring this up to begin with, that diseases carried by the ticks is increasing, and in this part of the state, more dangerous diseases, not just Lyme disease. So that's what made me ask the question, because I'm seeing them in downtown, and I worry about the ticks and the kids. And they're about to start a study to present to us. I wish I could think of what they called it, but anyway, it's testing the ticks that are coming off our deer. And, I mean, I don't care for hunting and killing deer either. That's what alarms me, is the ticks that they're carrying. So,
Well, I just know that I do get quite regularly, it's not every day or every week, but I do quite regularly get comments about what is the city gonna do about the deer population, that sort of thing.
And other people tell you how wonderful it is that they're welcome in town.
They're welcome in town.
They love seeing them in their yard.
Yep. So
Good luck.
Yep. So I put those in, at least that's some basic facts for you to take a look at. And like I said, I'm gonna have a conversation with them this Friday, just to get some more information and some of the facts, that is some deeper stuff. If you go into their website, talks about there is less hunting happening across the state of Michigan. There are less hunters. So that is an issue. From a standpoint of a farmer, you can quite easily now go get extra licenses to just take deer off your
Almost
property.
unlimited, I think.
Unlimited, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. That's how many deer there are across the state of Michigan. So,
And I noticed that the list of trees and shrubs and vines that are seldom damaged by deer is about 3/4 of a page, and the list of trees, shrubs, and vines that are preferred and frequently damaged by deer is about 4 pages.
So they like what we grow.
Yep, find a way to survive. Neighborhood street maintenance, just wanted to give everyone an update. Obviously, everyone's well aware of Iowa Street and Harbor Street, the reconstruction projects going on, but part of our discussion for the millage renewal was maintenance of streets and doing maintenance techniques. As of today, the crew has completed 3 wedge projects, 15 spot overlays, and 5 patching projects. This represents 358 tons of asphalt. Before construction season is over, the crew will complete 15 more wedges, 12 more spot overlays, and 6 cutout and patch projects. And the cutout patch projects are what we were talking about, where we take a big piece of a particular piece of road, and then we'll do that in a few places, and then have an asphalt company come in and fill that piece in. So those will be done. And yeah, Curtis has just popped up what we have completed in yellow and what will be completed by the end of construction season here. And also, they've been busy helping out the water distribution department with the lead and copper investigation. You probably noticed in downtown that there was pieces of concrete removed and then filled in with gravel, and just recently concrete put back down. That was part of the lead and copper investigation, was to check those locations, and that should be done by the end of this week. We're putting the concrete back into those spaces, and in the neighborhoods where we've opened them, where those were located in the driveway approaches, to put the concrete back there. Our lead and copper investigation itself, we have 295 inspections complete, 17 partial completed inspections. Out of all those inspections to date, we've only found one, and we didn't think we'd find much of anything. We found one lead gooseneck at a main. We have 298 either copper, plastic, and 24 galvanized service lines that we officially have found, the 24 as part of this project. On the exterior portion of the homes, we're 86% complete. On the interior, getting inside and looking, believe it or not, we're up to 91% now. So we had talked to the commission a few months ago about that we had some people that were holdouts. We're getting very close. The estimated number of galvanized lines in our system is 8%. We are required to, at a 5% replacement rate, we have to replace 6 this year in 2023. We've replaced 1 so far, leaving us with 5 to replace by the end of the year. Our total known number of galvanized service lines is 108. And we have to be mentioned, the 24 of them have been found within this project. 84 of the galvanized service lines have been identified through other systems like our rental inspections and our own records. So we estimate, just with the numbers that we have now, we have a total of 236 service lines that are galvanized across the city. And right now we're only required to replace 6 a year, but once we complete the rest, as we complete inspections, that number of service lines you have to replace goes up. So once we do get through all 3,080 households or businesses, our number of service lines we have to replace per year will be 12 services, could be. And that could run our water fund up to $70,000 a year annually to replace those service lines. As part of that SRF, state revolving loan funding, we did put in that loan request that we would replace 108 known galvanized lines with that funding. So we can get a good jump start on getting that all done if we do receive the SRF funding. The Catholic Church on Downey, just wanted to give the commission a heads up, just in case you haven't heard about this or seen it, that the Catholic Diocese of Saginaw and has been in discussions again to look at the demolition and removal of the church that's on Downey Street. That was talked about, gosh, maybe close to 10 years ago. They were talking about doing that and it kind of died down, but the discussion is back. There's a group of folks who do not want to see the building go away, and they've had some meetings about that, and I did receive an email from Nancy Graham that I did provide for you in your newsletter, and a letter that was addressed to the mayor and to the commission from the Michigan Historic Preservation Network about why the building should be saved and that it should be saved. My discussions with Nancy and with Mr. Scott, who is with Telson Architects, who was the original architectural firm that designed the church, from the standpoint of the city, we're kind of in that neutral position that it's not a blighted building. It's not a building that's in danger of falling down. And we really don't have any control over if the owner wants to make a demo or not. As I stated in the newsletter, we obviously, from a staff standpoint, we'd be very supportive of if the two sides came together and wanted to work out a way to
Find somebody
keep
to pay for it.
keep it there or something. We'd definitely be willing to help out whatever we could from that standpoint. When I spoke to Mr. Scott and Ms. Graham, I let them know, that's where we stand from the city side of things. And the only thing that we could do is, like with most things, we can go in and say, here, either fix it up, or if they don't fix it up, then we go to court to have it removed. And obviously that's the opposite of what they'd like to see happen.
Or what we'd like to see happen.
Yeah. And I'm like I told them, from our standpoint, we were not making any comments to, hey, this has to be fixed or any along those lines. When I did speak to Mr. Scott, he had been up to look at the building, and his opinion as an architect was that they could do some things that could be done cheaper that could save the building. But like I told him, and he agreed, it's It's nothing, something I can't tell the owner to do, so. But I just wanted to make you aware of that and provide you with those two correspondence to, so you're aware in case someone does see you in the community and asks you a question that, that's where I've been when people have asked, from a staff standpoint, so. Coming up on the agenda, the Michigan Municipal League annual meeting is coming up. If there's any of the commissioners that would like to attend, we would like to appoint one of you, or two of you, that if there's two of you going, to be our representative to vote at the annual meeting on October 20th. The conference goes from October 18th to the 20th, and it's in Grand Traverse Resort this year. And we've already talked a little bit about the Alma Live event on August 19th. We have also the U.S. Mower Tour coming on August 24th from 1 to 3. Lucky McDuck Day is on September 9th, 10 to 4 by the Alma Library. We do have the 1225 steam engine train coming into town from Wausau on October 14th. And then I just mentioned the Lion King Jr. and those dates in your newsletter. An evening in the parks. There's still time to go and enjoy performance in the park at Wright Park. Next up on August 8th is a historical evening with Lisa Lauder. And the Central Michigan Area Concert Band is on August 15th. So lots of great activities happening in town. Sorry, that took a little bit. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, your 5 minutes were up a lot.
Apologize.
Any more questions for Eric on that? No? Okay, well, with that, we have a motion on the table, so all those in favor of receipt of the report, would say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion is carried. We've received the report. Thank you, Eric. Next up is to consider a resolution to appoint a city commission designee and alternate to attend the Michigan Municipal League Annual Convention and vote on behalf of the city of Alma at the annual meeting. And I know I'm planning to attend and be happy to serve as designee or the delegate if it's...
It's the week I'm in Canada.
I'm in Mexico.
Wow.
We got the country surrounded.
No.
So we're looking for two.
Yeah, Debbie, yeah.
I have to check my schedule, but
Good.
I could be an alternate or something for that, but I don't, if anyone else can go, that's fine.
Well, it doesn't hurt either if we.
Yeah, I mean, more people can go without being the delegate. There's a lot of good sessions going on. It's very educational and it's a nice opportunity to...
Yes. It's very helpful for elected officials.
So I guess, does anybody want to make a motion at this point, or you want to table it, or your pleasure on this?
we can always add one later, correct? Eric?
Sure.
Or actually, I had to appoint Greg to fill that seat.
Support.
Comments, questions?
Okay, we just need to appoint one person for now? Or we just-
Well, we can add as
Okay.
an alternate later if we
Okay.
need to, or if anybody wants to, if they're...
We only get the one vote, so.
Okay, so we just need one person.
Yes, we do, we at least get the one
Greg's the
vote.
voter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't really matter who...
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you for the trust of that heavyweight. New business, we're to consider a resolution to approve a transit carve-out with the municipal employees retirement system and to authorize the municipal employees retirement system to create a new division for the transit employees and also to authorize the city manager to sign documents as needed to execute the transition. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Okay, and we've talked about this a bit in the past. It's
This is
separate them out. And
This is a part of what we discussed at the last meeting to move our transit employees into their own division. Currently, they're in the division with the general employees. This will be similar to what the Housing Commission is. What this will allow us to do is take those 8 full-time employees, carve them out of our pool there, create their own pool, and then it'll allow us, we have a nice fund balance in our transportation budget that will allow us to take some of that money and fund that at 100%, helping not only that particular part of the division, but then also helping the overall city pension program. So So I think it's a win-win all the way around for that.
And, I guess it helps to clarify the record keeping.
Yes.
Now that we have partners, that we can explain to them the cost between Slipper and us, so.
That does help with that too.
Okay. Did we have a motion on that?
Yes.
Did we? Okay. Anybody have more questions? All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to appropriations. Is anyone in favor of paying the bills?
Move to pay the appropriations.
Are there any questions on the aforementioned bills? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried and we're authorized to pay the bills. Commissioner comments. Lori, would you like to lead off tonight?
Thank you, Eric, for all the information that I needed. I appreciate it. You do a great job. And also congratulations to the Summer Youth Workshop at Gratiot County Players. If you haven't seen Lion King Jr. yet, go out and see it. It's a great show.
Yeah, I've been to 4 showings now. It's a lot of fun, so highly recommend it.
Okay. That's a pretty strong endorsement. Roxanne?
We're getting teacher letters, open house announcements for the public schools to send out. So open house is August 16th and then school begins August 22nd. So just 2 weeks away. So I'm tired.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. Here we
Danny,
are.
or were you done, Roxanne?
Yeah.
Okay. Danny?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Okay. Roger?
I have nothing else either, so.
That's quick. No? Pam? Thank you. Eric, you have more?
Just one last thing, all the activities happening downtown and across the community needs volunteers. So if anybody would like to get involved in any of these things that are happening across the community, call City Hall and then we'll get you in touch with the right people. That's it.
You can call City Hall, you can call United Way, you can
Yes.
call Child Advocacy, you can go.
But I know all these,
There's
I know who to
volunteers
send
all over,
to.
all over the place, yeah. So if anybody's bored, it's
Yes.
their own fault in this town. There's lots going on and
True.
lots of fun things to do. And they really are fun once you get there and start working it.
Yes.
Great things. I would just like to add, appreciation, the list of projects of, I guess, maintenance projects for the streets, due directly back to the increase in millage that was approved by the voters. So I want to thank the voters for providing the funding and the trust in the city staff to spend that money wisely. They are doing that. I think that list is proof that the money's going right to the roads where everybody intended, where we promised it. So I thank the voters for, giving us the opportunity to improve those streets. And over the long run, I'm convinced it's going to cost or save us money.
It will.
Because if we can slow the deterioration of the street, we can make it last longer. We don't have to replace it because we obviously can't keep up with replacements. So appreciation to the voters for doing that, and hopefully everybody notices that in their neighborhoods as these things all over the town are getting patched up and extending their lives. So with that, we'd open up the floor up to the public. If there's any members of the public who would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes to share your thoughts.
Hi, my name is Holly Butcher. I live at 1014 Pine Avenue. And I wasn't going to say anything, but Eric brought up the deer issue. So with living at 1014 Pine Avenue, right in the center of that kind of area, there's a couple of vacant lots that other people own that aren't maintained. And there's about a family of 8 deer that hang out back there. That really has become quite the nuisance for us, to the point where they're very used to people. So if our kids are in the backyard and my husband was in the backyard, they actually charged both of them. So they went after my daughter, and then one tried to attack our cat. Also, our neighbor who lives next door to us is getting worked up for Lyme disease because he got bit by the ticks. So now we're not in our backyard because it is infested with ticks. So I just wanted to bring that up because there's like I said, 2 vacant lots, and those deer have become very aggressive to the point where they're coming up to almost to our back door there at 1014 Pine. So I don't know if we can kind of get put on your radar to have someone look into that area or not. But like I said, there's ticks back there, and with the concern for our neighbor, we were kind of concerned with everything that's going on. And I didn't know other people were having problems with the deer, but that's been quite the hangout for a family of deer. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, I know with all the street work, our grandmother lives at the corner of 401 Washington and Pine. She has a significant gap between where the sidewalk meets the road. So I don't know if anyone can take a look at that, but it's pretty difficult with her being in a wheelchair in the car. For us even getting her car up over that, there's a significant hump, and there's about a 3-inch gap. If there's any way someone can look at a possible repair for that. 401 Washington. So she's right on the corner there of Pine and Washington. It has a big metal ramp for getting her wheelchair down it. But that was all I need. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission tonight? Please step forward, last chance. I don't see anybody coming forward. So with that, we'll entertain the motion to adjourn this evening.
Move to adjourn.
Support. Motion support, last chance for comments. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great evening.